do. Strike force alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force alpha! Defenders against the rule of might! Strike force alpha! Fighting injustice across the land! Strike force alpha! They can do what no one else can! Evil do. Strike force alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force alpha! Defenders against the rule of
Welcome to Mixing Vocals. Listening to the same thing over and over and over again. So right now we're working on the mixing of the vocal tracks for the Strike Force Alpha theme song.
Strike Force Alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike Force Alpha! Defenders against the rule of might! Strike Force Alpha! Fighting injustice across the land! Strike Force Alpha! They can do what no one else can! Evil do. Strike Force Alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike Force Alpha!
So next we'll have to even out this main vocal with the gang chants, the volume level. We want the volume level of these to be roughly equal to each other.
Yeah. So.
And there were some low spots in the vocal that Jordan was just working on, and he used compression to basically set a limiter on the overall volume. And you want to explain that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so I did, and this is a basic plugin in Logic. Basically, what I did is actually let me solo that real quick, and we'll get rid of that.
Strike Force Alpha! Flying out!
It's not very solo now, is it? Do 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 do. All right. So
flying out in the dead of night!
If you look right above this plugin, you'll see there these sound waves are bigger because they were at a higher volume whenever he recorded the track, and you'll see these were at a softer volume. You can tell by the transient, which is how big the peak is in the waveform. So what I did is you can use compression to remove abnormalities out of your tracks. So if he's saying one part softer and one part really aggressively, you can basically use compression to bring up the bottom. And then in this particular compressor, we have a limiter that we're going to use to bring down the ceiling. So what I did was, it's a soft compression, 2.2 to 1 ratio, and then I dropped the threshold right here down to where it starts attacking the sound wave. So once I got that to where I wanted it, and the attack and the release, the attack is like how fast it starts compressing it versus the release. I'm actually using the auto release because it's very transparent on this particular one. Then I'm using the limiter to bring down the top end, so you can see whenever I do this. Are you gonna go? Come on now. All right, you can see whenever I do this, you see where the limiter is coming in, and this will show you how much dB it's actually taking off.
Across the land. They can do what no one else can.
So basically it makes the sound wave more consistent, right? So you're going to get even volume throughout the whole thing.
And it's not going to be so much that it sounds fake or flat.
Right. So it sounds more consistent, and if I hit A and bring up the automation, you can see that I haven't changed any of the automation on it. So if I need to make an adjustment later on, I still have the automation in my toolbox to bring up a vocal or drop a vocal. But honestly, after I did that and put on a reverb, it's pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't really need any automation.
Flying out in the dead of night. Defenders against the rule of might.
So then, the other thing I've done with these tracks so far is I've went through and on the main vocal track, you see it's got the strongest one.
Strike force alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force alpha! Defenders against!
And I made that like the main track because the other tracks have different inflections and changes in his voice that accent this. It's like the most basic one. So I made them a left and a right vocal.
And
so,
then one central.
Yeah. So the main vocal is the central vocal, and then you
Strike
have,
force alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force alpha! Defenders against the rule of might! Strike force alpha!
so you see how that one's very faint,
Mm-hmm.
but it differentiates a little bit. That's
Strike force alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force alpha! Defenders against the rule of might! Strike force alpha! Fighting injustice!
so you have like a main voice and then two other voices on each side. The one thing that does is one, it doesn't hit the end mix as hard, and it softens the blow from it. And I only did that as basic as like 24 left and right.
But I think it also adds some depth and brings it to life a little bit more, because this is supposed to sound like a game chant with 3 people.
Right, exactly. So plus, so the idea is the main vocal will be like the brunt of it, and I'll do most of the EQ work on that particular track, just to level it out and make it clearer. And then on the left and the right, I won't have to have so much low end in there to take up your sound waves. I can actually cut out the low end on those, and that'll actually brighten it instead of you're cutting out sound waves instead of trying to boost the higher end on the lower track, and that ends up making it all blend in together. Otherwise, you go out, play it in a car, it's going to sound all woofy. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, and that's because you have a deep voice. So,
Strike force alpha! Flying out in the dead of night!
thick with 2 C's.
Strike force alpha!
Yes. My voice is thick with 2 C's.
Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha!
Alpha! Alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha!
Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha! Strike force alpha!
Oh God, I can't take that. Okay.
All right, so after you get done setting these up, we'll go back through and talk about what you did to them. So working on a couple different parts of the theme song now, and just getting everything evened out across the board so that it sounds right. What are you doing now?
First thing I did was kind of the same thing I did with the main vocals down here on this middle section. I'll play it. Not there. There.
Evildoers, you better beware. They will find you anywhere. Evildoers, you better beware. They dare go anywhere.
So basically, I just want to level out each track, pan the ones with the alternate sounds left and right so that they're not the main vocal, but the inflections there. Went through and EQ'd each one of them. Obviously, with the vocals, vocals are typically somewhere between the 250 hertz up through the 4,000 or 5,000 hertz range in the spectrum. If you want to take out some of that lower end, like some of his vocals had some stuff down in the 60s and 80s, where he was breathing heavily in the mic.
How's that go again?
It's where you were breathing heavily in the mic. Ice cream. You're so awesome. But no, I want to knock some of that out because you don't want vocals that normally, or parts of a song that normally sit in the higher registers. You don't want them clouding up the lower registers. So you want your kick and your drums and your bass to sound clear.
Mm-hmm.
Remove a bunch of that junk. So that's what I did with it. They were all pretty level for the most part, but I still panned them. Then we have our super high vocal. Well, it sounds like he's getting his butt prodded. But whenever you put them all into the mix, so, and then I have one big group track where I added compression so that we'd be able to have compression over the whole track from front to end. Mm-hmm. So the lower parts and the later part of the song would come up, same idea as the original track. So I did that just a little bit of 2-to-1 EQ or compression, and then dropping the threshold a little bit so the so it's just limiting it a little bit so that whenever you go to send out like the master bus, whenever we send the final track to the toy company or the owner guy, what'll happen is it'll be more level all the way across the board. I put a de-esser in there because whenever you take out those low registers, the S sound sounds up more.
Right. The foam cover over the microphone helped out a whole lot with that too.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, but it's still going to break.
Yeah, it's still going to be there.
I hear myself doing it now. Right? So, basically that's based on frequencies. So I cut out certain frequencies with the de-esser that have the most effect on that. And then there's a reverb over the whole track. Now, if I was mixing a whole song like drums, guitars, bass, everything, I would have like alternate and auxiliary tracks to route some of that stuff to. But with this, all we're recorded and all we're mixing is the vocals. So I wanted to keep the project simple. So that there's not a lot of ins and outs and a lot of sins going all over.
I think we're actually getting toward the end of this now, are we?
Yeah, we're getting pretty close. So, so good.
Love chillers.
Yes, it's good stuff. So what we're going to do now is go through and any kind of overall EQ work, I'm going to go through and check on the final vocal, and then I'll do any automation that needs to be done to raise or lower any vocals in certain spots. like this section right here, I know I'm going to have to raise a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to be easier to raise it in the final vocal track than it is to come down and change the automation on all 3 tracks.
Right, you'll just do it all at once.
Right. They say work smarter, not harder. But I worked really hard to get to be smart about that.
Yeah.
It's subjective. So I'm gonna go through and we're gonna listen to the whole shebang.
All right.
Without any of the music in the background.
Oh, so we're just listening to all the vocals by themselves.
It's
Awesome.
just the vocals. So.
Strike force Alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force Alpha! Defenders against the rule of might! Strike force Alpha! Fighting injustice across the land! Strike force Alpha! They can do what no one else can! Evildoers, you better beware! They will find you anywhere! Evildoers, you better beware! They dare not go anywhere! Strike force Alpha!
Be honest with you, I will probably drop these top tracks a couple of dB each, as opposed to raising this track. So,
Okay.
and we might be able to get away with not doing any automation at all. It's like,
And then you'll be able to raise everything up altogether.
yeah.
Strike force Alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force Alpha! Defenders against doers, you better beware! No one else can! Evildoers, you better beware! Do what no one else can! Evildoers, you better beware! They will find you anywhere! Evildoers, you better beware! They dare not go! Strike force Alpha!
I'd probably drop that really high harmony a little bit. Let's go just maybe just a smidge more. And then we'll bounce around.
Strike force Alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force Alpha! Defenders against the rule of might! Strike force Alpha! Fighting injustice across the land! Strike force Alpha! They can do what no one else can! Evildoers, you better beware! They will find you anywhere! Evildoers, you better beware! They dare not go anywhere! Strike force Alpha!
Yeah, that definitely needs to come down in the mix. Yeah, that needs to be more noticeable in the background.
Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force Alpha!
Yeah. Yeah, more like that.
So now we got to send this to a person that created the original project, and they're just going to basically import a WAV file into their project. And they're probably going to have to EQ it based on what they have, because I mean we just
Well, I
basically
think we're gonna export everything and send it all as an MP3.
So are they wanting the original music to be the final track?
We can do both. I'll see if we can get files if you want to do further
Yeah.
mixing on it.
Because I was just mixing the vocals. I wasn't mixing it based on the music.
Yeah. So let's see what it sounds like with the music. I'm gonna say that the vocals are pretty much done as far as mixing goes, and
There might be some EQ work on the music if I have to.
Yeah.
If we have to go that route.
but I think the music's pretty well solid as the way they want it.
Yeah.
Strike force Alpha! Flying out in the dead of night! Strike force Alpha! Defenders against the rule of might! Strike force Alpha! Fighting injustice across the land! Strike force Alpha! They can do
I was actually going to mention that you might want to bring that down so it seemed to be a little overpowered.
You better beware. They're gonna go anywhere. Strike force alpha.
So vocals are a little bit overpowering, but one thing I can tell you that they did was they faded the end of it really hard. So the question is do we need to fade the vocals to match that?
I don't think that we do, but
for me, what I would do is I'd bounce it with the music, bounce it without the music, and then yeah. I was thinking there was a third option, but I just went dirt. So, or maybe bounce it with the vocals faded.
all right. So for the purpose of the video, let's play through one more time now that you got that adjusted, and see what it sounds like.
Strike force alpha. Dying out in the dead of night. Strike force alpha. Defenders against the rules of mind. Strike force alpha. Finding the justice across the land. Strike force alpha. They can do what no one else can. Evil doers, you better beware. They will find
I'd take that volume down just a little bit more.
evil doers, you better beware. They're gonna go.
Overall,
No, just that track that's highlighted.
Strike force alpha. Dying out in the dead of night. Strike force alpha. Defenders against the rules of mind. Strike force alpha.
A little bit more.
Finding justice across the land. Strike force alpha. They can do what no one else can. Evil doers, you better night. Strike force alpha. Defenders against the rules of mind.
Yeah, this sounds more level to me.
Finding justice across the land. Strike force alpha. They can do what no one else can. Evil doers, you better beware. They will find you anywhere. Evil doers, you better beware. They're gonna go anywhere. Strike force alpha.
So I think that we're going to call this done for now, and shoot a version over to my friend Jason and see what he thinks, and get some feedback and go from there. But this is what we've worked on with the Strike Force Alpha theme song and mixing the vocals in with the music that was provided. Thanks for watching. Be sure to hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for more stuff from Day of Ruin. We've got live streams and all kinds of things coming up.